My name is James, and I've had an on-off relationship with a lovely Thai girl for many years now. I met her under normal circumstances in the US, and because of this, I never bought into all the baggage that usually comes with dating Thai bar girls. I had previously dated a girl in Bangkok, and made the usual mistake of throwing way too much money around, and I was determined that this new lady was going to have to like me for who I am. The fact that I had no intention of paying a dowry, or getting involved with her family, has obviously caused complications over the years, and this is where my story begins. It was 2008 and we were on a relationship break, which translates as she dumped me and found someone new. I was actually very upset about this, but I understood why it had happened. My solution, of course, was a trip to Pattaya. Because this trip was improvised quite quickly, I couldn't get a room at a hotel called Secrets, which is where I had intended to stay. Back then Secrets was one of the best bars around, and Larry the manager was good with customers. I'm sure a lot of you must have met Larry at some point. Anyhow, this led me to wandering around Pattaya wondering what exactly was my next step. I eventually booked into the Windy Hotel, which was located at the far end of Walking Street, somewhat further than the bars extended. After quickly checking in, it was time to investigate the nightlife. The first evening I wasn't really feeling great. I still missed my girlfriend and things were rapidly turning into one of those 10 beers and a kebab night. I ended up in the beer bar complex located in the central part of Walking Street, and this is where I met Oi, a lovely Thai lady working in the same bar I was drinking at. She was doing all the work, serving drinks, and taking the money whilst everyone else just sat around. She was a pleasant individual of indeterminate age, who had obviously had a hard life working on a farm and later laboring on construction projects. Unusually for a Thai girl, she looked older than she actually was, and when we went drinking in other locations girls regularly approached me and asked, "Why did you bring your mother out with you?" That was pretty much the end of the first night. The second night followed the same pattern, and I ended up back at Oi's bar. She was especially good at looking after customers, especially when they were drunk. She would often get them a taxi and even escort them home, before returning to the bar. People just seemed to trust her. The third night I completely overdid it and got extremely drunk. Not that clever, but it happened. Oi of course took me back to the Windy Hotel and ended up staying the night. The next day I was too hungover to want to do anything and Oi stayed a further night. At this point she was getting far too comfortable and took some shifting. It was now day 5, and I had to explain to her that I wasn't looking for a girlfriend and that I wanted to check out some other go-go bars also. Oi agreed that as I was on holiday, I should do this, but made absolutely no attempt to leave the room. This was getting tricky and it took me a lot of effort to actually get her out of the door without being mean. Finally, I was ready to check out Pattaya again, and I ended up in the Happy Go-Go Bar. The bar was packed and had a great party atmosphere, all catering to foreign customers. I preferred the smaller Japanese section of the bar. There wasn't as many girls working in this part, but these girls really had the Japanese idol look, and I quickly met up with a fantastic lady called Mim. She was stunning. Dressed all in white with a crop top, short skirt, and those crazy knee-high platform boots with a good 6 inches of lift on them. What a babe! It wasn't long before we were back at my hotel to have some fun. We arrived at the reception, which was one of those places with a key drop box and required you to request the key back from the receptionist. Things suddenly got a little strange at this point. The friendly female receptionist clearly didn't want to give me my key. She had also developed an odd facial twitching motion and seemed to be pointing to something. She managed to pull me to one side and, as we approached the punchline, "I am sure you can see where this is going. Please sir, you cannot take this girl to your room, your wife has come back before you." Yes, you guessed it. I had returned to the hotel before me, and the wonderfully secure hotel staff had just handed my room key over to her. On entering my room I found Oi fast asleep, so I left quietly and shut the door. I wanted this situation resolved as delicately as possible, so I simply booked a second room and enjoyed a couple of hours with the hot lady Mim. It was a funny situation, and I did stay friends with Oi for a couple of years before she went back to her village, presumably to marry her German boyfriend. That's the beauty of Pattaya. Thanks for listening and hope you enjoyed the story.